Electrocast.
Why wait to see if you'll get something you like this Valentine's Day when you can go to BlueNile.com and find something you'll love? Whether you're looking to treat yourself to a little winter sparkle or show a galentine how much you appreciate them, Blue Nile offers a wide selection of high-quality designs, expert guidance, and free 30-day returns for the ultimate peace of mind. You can even design your own jewelry. Right now, save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Today on Missing the Point, we're breaking down the 2021 NFL Draft. We'll give our reactions to what many people viewed as one of the most exciting first rounds in recent memory, and we'll also talk about the most surprising picks and recap the draft of the Bears, Cowboys, and Patriots. Plus, I think Bobby has an announcement to make. This is Missing the Point, episode 57. But it's all relative.
Welcome to Missing the Point. My name's Joe Malkin. I'm joined by the entire crew tonight. Mike Marcangelo, our EP, Craig D'Alessandro, DK Sizzle out there in California, Mr. B, Rayshawn Buchanan, and the real BK, Bob Kelly. We have an NFL draft to recap tonight, a week after we previewed the NFL draft and told you how everything was going to go. Boys, we were pretty close with what we were throwing out last week. And looking back at our interview with Anthony Treesh of Pro Football Focus, he was pretty spot on where the Patriots were going to go in the first round. He didn't get the corner in the late rounds coming here, but we thought he would. But guys, as the six of us are fans of three different teams, we're going to take a look at the entire draft. We're going to go through the top 10. We're going to look at the Patriots draft, the Cowboys draft, and the Bears draft. There's no game involved, but we're going to look at everything and see who's going to win it after 17 games, I guess, this season. So, guys, welcome in. And I am going to start with Bob Kelly, because while we had the NFL draft over the weekend, which started Thursday night, there was a total of 259 draft picks, but we do have another draft pick that went unnamed that Bobby is going to give us now.
So I just, I teased this on the last live show. We're officially past the point of, we can feel comfortable telling everyone. So there is another member of the Missing the Point crew being delivered in about 9 months. I don't know if it's a boy or girl yet, but Katie's expecting. She's having a baby. Excited about it. Let's go. Awesome, we got a 7th member now, guys.
It's awesome. That's so
I didn't sign off on your offspring immediately joining the podcast.
Listen,
how about they have some
already here.
Just hold on.
They have some fucking auditions. We make sure that they're good enough.
I mean, my kid hops on here and just starts going.
For what it's worth, Bobby, we're really excited. It's amazing, but
we've known about it for a long time. This is for listeners at home. Where are we faking it excitement now?
But rent is due, so make sure they pay up.
Fact. Odds in Vegas are that naming the baby Rayshawn is plus 100. So
it is. It's up there. Wait, one last funny story about this. So my dad texted me. Everyone out there knows I'm a Cowboys fan. So he texted me. We were talking about I think I'm going to be a good dad. You should be a good blah blah blah, and start talking about if he's going to be a Cowboys fan. I'm like, no, Dad. I said I was going to be a good dad. Okay. No, I'm not going to put him through that suffering that you did to me.
Bobby, you can always come back to the dark side. I just want you to know that we would accept you with open arms because
we're bad again.
You would fit in.
We're great time to join the Patriots fan base.
We're bad again.
I can't at this point. Yeah.
So let's take a look at the NFL draft, at least at the top 10, which is really what we previewed, and see where we are. We do have a late round pick that Rayshawn and I kind of called, one that I enjoyed, and I'm glad that the Pittsburgh Steelers went with, but guys, did this draft go as planned, quote unquote? I think it lived up to the hype.
Yeah.
I think this was one of the most, and I know that a lot of people will say that it's just a bunch of crap. It's a bunch of baloney. You never know how it's going to turn out. The NFL did an incredible job marketing this. They did an incredible job pushing this out, and it was exciting from the first. Even having Trevor Lawrence picked first was exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I could have lived without all the video packages, but we talked about it last week that San Francisco controlled the draft, and man, did they! I mean, their pick shifted everything. I mean, it literally sent the entire rest of the first round. And I'm convinced now more than ever that those NFL insiders that we heard that were saying that the 49ers were going to take Mac Jones, that was Belichick. It had to have been. He was never a top 3 quarterback, ever. And all we kept hearing was, yeah, Mac Jones, they like him. They really like him. He'll fit their system. And then all of a sudden he just drops to 15. So I think Trey Lance is a hell of a pick, though. That is a hell of a pick for the 49ers.
What I loved about the 49ers is Shanahan actually came out and said they were blowing smoke up everyone's ass. He literally came out and said that about like all that Mac Jones stuff. That was us just like putting feelers out there, see what people were saying back. They had known for the past week and a half, apparently, that Trey Lance was the guy. Yep. And it was just him and the owner, Shanahan and the owner, that knew that they were picking him. So
I don't think that was a good pick, though.
I like Lance, man. Yeah, he's
why do they hate Jimmy Garoppolo so much?
We'll get there. Let's get down to that pick first. And I guess that was kind of the first surprise, and that's the first question we have on here. So let's go through it, because there were 10 total quarterbacks taken in the draft. There was 5 in the first round, 1 in the second. And we're going to get to that second round quarterback pick because that's an interesting one as well. But let's talk about those first 3. So Trevor Lawrence, unsurprisingly, goes to Jacksonville. Zach Wilson, unsurprisingly, goes to the New York Jets. And then that number 3 pick, which, Mike, as you mentioned, Mac Jones, it was thrown around that he could be taken by San Francisco. And instead, they went with North Dakota State quarterback Trey Lance, did the San Francisco 49ers. So I want to speak to the Jimmy Garoppolo part, but let's talk about why that was a good or bad pick for the 49ers.
I just don't think it was. I think it's just, I think the second best quarterback, I'm obviously a little biased at this point, but I think the second best quarterback in the draft was Justin Fields. And I think to let him drop, I think it's going to prove, I can't prove that right now, but I think it's going to prove to be a bad choice for them in the future. I think, like you said, Mike, it screwed up everybody. It screwed up the draft in a good way then, because then somehow everybody had a good draft. Like it seemed like everybody kind of got what they wanted or needed, to me, except for the 49ers. Like, what's so wrong with Jimmy G? Like, I understand the injury stuff, but he did bring him to a Super Bowl 2 years ago, and now you're keeping him, but you're going to stash this kid. So what does the San Francisco 49ers quarterback position look like going into next season?
So this is where I'm going to sound like a mix between me and Bobby about Jimmy Garoppolo, but I think it was just is that Kyle Shanahan looks at the body of work that Jimmy Garoppolo has given him. And it's been, it was that 19 games in the Super Bowl season. And then it was 6 last year, because he went down the week after they beat the Patriots. And in his first year there, I think he only played 4. So, see, Dave, I'm kind of with you. Obviously, because I was the one that wanted Jimmy G back in New England, which pretty much died when they took Trey Lance. But I think it's just that, and Kyle Shanahan just doesn't seem so high on him. But I think right now, what it is now is that Trey Lance is kind of seen as a project, although I hate to throw this out there. I don't think he's as much of a project as Justin Fields. I think you're absolutely right that Justin Fields is like the second or third best quarterback in terms of pure athletic talent. But in terms of Trey Lance, he's so good.
As a pick, when the 49ers made it, I think that Trey Lance is a better quarterback, probably will be a better quarterback than Mitch Trubisky, but it felt like a Mitch Trubisky type draft, because it was like, because there was all that weird stuff about Mitch where it was like, well, he kind of only played 1 full season. We haven't seen him play against a lot of elite competition. And those exact same criticisms can be leveled at Trey Lance, I feel like.
They were.
And it's just like, well, you're kind of taking a gamble. And then Shanahan's doing this thing now where he's like, all right, I'm putting all my eggs in this basket. Clearly, right? Because, Jimmy G is not going to do it for me. He doesn't think, okay, cool. But he's gonna start him. He's gonna start him week 1, right? He's gonna start Trey Lance. You don't think so?
I think they took Trey to make sure that Jimmy's only played more than 7 games once in his entire career, right?
Well, you can't use New England as a sample, though, Mike.
Okay, only played 7 games once in his entire career in San Francisco
as a starter.
Yeah, sure.
That's a pretty damning stat.
It's bad. It's bad. But like on the off chance that he has a good year, then you have 1 year to develop Trey Lance, just like Kansas City did with Mahomes behind Alex Smith. I'm not comparing the two, but I think they have a really good quarterback situation right now because when Garoppolo is healthy, they do well. If he's not, now they have a really good bona fide, quarterback to back him up, and I think he's a quarterback for sure.
If all goes according to plan, But like if you're saying he's a project, does he go in if Jimmy goes down?
Yes,
like he does, right? So, and if you add that to his health stats, that could happen week 2, and then all of a sudden you might wreck Trey Lance then, right? If you're thinking because you're gambling on Jimmy G's health a little bit, right? And Justin Fields, I just feel like was like a better prospect. I mean, I was pretty shocked he was still there. You guys texted me. You were like, Dave, the Bears are making a move. I wasn't watching it. I was like, I don't give a shit. I'm going to have to watch this awful 2021, 2022 Bears season with just a couple of absolute relics that were never really that good at quarterback. And it's just going to make me sad. And then you're like, Dave, quick. And I look at the draft and it's I was like, Justin Fields is still fucking there. I was like, we're picking 11th. I was like, did everybody have a brain aneurysm on the way down here? That's crazy to me.
So it's funny that you say that though, because I actually said this on the preview is the NFL is you see year after year, man, they're fucking stupid. You know what I mean? Shit happens every year where you're how on God's name does Patrick Mahomes get picked 11th in the draft? How in God, you know what I mean? The thing is, though, is Trey Lance's upside is so beyond anything of what Mitch Trubisky ever could have been. No offense to Mitch Trubisky.
Totally.
Again,
no, I'm not. I said that at the start to lead off. I'm just saying.
It's more of an upside pick, and I feel what Shanahan, his mindset, because you guys know I can read their minds, is he feels like he can develop him. That upside is going to come out when it comes out with Shanahan because he's the guy, right? He's the quarterback guy. So inexperience is never going to stop Kyle Shanahan from picking someone. You know what I mean? Because he just feels like he can do it.
The problem I have with the beginning of your statement is that, we look at these guys and say they're idiots. And sure, revisionist history, we can look at this. And the whole time when we were talking in the Discord about these picks and we're going back and forth on the needs of these teams and Mike saying, well, Devontae Smith can't fall this far or this guy can't fall that far. Not necessarily all Mike, but Mike was stuck on the Devontae Smith falling to number 10. But the biggest thing is that's all revisionist history because you can say, how do you let Patrick Mahomes fall to 11? Well, did all 10 of the teams before them need that quarterback? Sure, there were some idiots in there. There were some guys that looked dumb in there. But you also, they got to go by needs. Are 31
injured board too?
Yeah, but are 31 other teams dumb for not picking Tom Brady in the first 198 picks? Yes. Yeah, we can look back now and say that. But
even Brady though, yes, he had a pot belly, all that shit. But you watch if you watch Brady's senior year, man, he led Michigan back from 28-point comebacks. But
a lot of
in the last 3 games
in college and have never been able to do that in the pros.
He was really good those last few games. So I feel like he should have gotten drafted before that. Yeah.
All right. So of the 3 quarterbacks taken, 1, 2, 3, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance. Let's put it on record right now. Rayshawn, who has the better career after 5 years? Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance.
I'm going to go with Zach Wilson. I'm a big Trey Lance supporter, but I think I'm gonna say that Zach Wilson becomes the quarterback that New York has needed as long for since the days of Joe Namath.
He's gonna be a Jets quarterback though, so he's
gonna be a Jets quarterback, but they've already put more around him in an offseason than they ever did for Sam Darnold. So that lets me know that Robert Saleh and they're invested in making him the guy. And and like I said, listen, Jets are going to play defense. So I think because of the defense and because of Zach Wilson's talent, if you mix that together, I think in 5 years, he's going to be the guy that you're like, man, I can't believe that maybe Jacksonville didn't look at, even though everyone agrees that Trevor Lawrence should have been the number 1 pick. But I think we're going to look at Zach Wilson in 5 years and be like, man, this guy is special. And Patriot fans are going to be sick that he's beating our ass twice a year.
I hope I'm not proved wrong. something about Trevor Lawrence doesn't seem right to me. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because
his long hair, and you
no,
probably get like
I just
Vietnam
cut
flashbacks
mine.
about hippies.
Don't be Harris.
Don't Harris. Yeah.
You're like, get that hippie out of here. This is a man's game.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He just wants to sit around in his flip-flops all day. And
That's why he's in Jacksonville. He's going to sit at the
I only
beach
make
with his
that
wife.
joke because I get it.
That's fine.
Yeah, right.
When I look at him, I'm
I
like,
get it too. No.
So looking past the first 3 picks, which is going to be interesting to see, and it's really interesting how with this draft, this is one of those drafts where we've really kind of cared about the top 10. Kyle Pitts is then taken at number 4 by the Atlanta Falcons, the highest tight end ever drafted. That's how high a tight end has ever been drafted, is the 4th overall pick.
He's so good, though.
Great pick.
He is
Great
so
pick.
good.
He's going to be some amalgamation of like Travis Kelce and Gronk. And like in today's NFL, you can draft a tight end that early and it doesn't look stupid because it's like he's going to be really good.
He's a walking mismatch. That's what that dude is. No matter where you line him up, he can burn the dude outside.
6'6", 260.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and Matt Ryan, like for all we clown on him,
4-4, like it's ridiculous. Like
and for all we clown on Matt Ryan, like he's still better than probably half the quarterbacks in the NFL. So giving him that weapon is a good thing. You know, I know they looked like shit last year, and I think kind of like the year before also. But if you got a guy you can just throw to every play, and he's going to be ready-made to do that right away in the NFL. He's got an NFL body. He's had an NFL body since he was like 18. So, yeah, he's ready. That's a good pick.
And also, like between him, Ridley, and Julio, you can't cover them all.
Unbelievable.
I mean,
unbelievable.
Julio's going to be gone after Julio. He's gone.
So you know what Pitts is? You guys know those Facebook posts you see where it's like the best running back ever, Barry Sanders' legs. This guy's that's what he is. He's Gronkowski's blocking, Jimmy Graham's red zone ability, and Travis Kelce's catching ability. That's what Kyle Pitts is. He's unbelievable, man.
And he was playing with Kyle Trask, who, you know, it did end up getting taken as the 6th overall quarterback to go in the draft. But the one thing that Atlanta does not have going for them, when we talked about to this point in the pre-draft show, is that they still, even after the draft, only have one quarterback on the roster. Though I did see today that they signed 20 undrafted free agents. So there might be a quarterback in there. I did not run down that list. The next one is an interesting one that I think we all jumped on a little bit, and that's Jamar Chase, the first wide receiver taken in the draft out of LSU, goes to Cincinnati, and he's going to play with his boy Joe Burrow from back in LSU. And Ray, you're shaking your head already.
Yeah, it's stupid. Like Jamar Chase is a baller. That's not the debate. Like Jamar Chase can play.
How did they not draft a tackle?
That's exactly like Penei Sewell. He was there. Like you have to protect the investment. You have to protect the quarterback.
You saw what happened already last season.
It's like come on.
You're absolutely right.
I don't understand that. So it's just like that to me was dumb. I really love the next pick after him. Like I said, we'll get to that with Jalen Waddle. But it's just like, I'm like, what are you doing, Cincinnati? Like you have to protect number 9. Like you can always use other receivers you could find. Like you can get this kid out of Memphis that went to Philly, not Devontae Smith, but Kenneth Gainwell. Like there was other guys in this draft.
I get that they lost AJ Green, and I think they panicked a little bit because AJ Green went to Arizona, and I think they were like, oh shit. But like I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's like you got to protect Joe Burrow. They lost him
in 2018, bro. Like he can't stay on the field.
I know. It's just like they had that as part of the concept, and it's like I just think it's like I understand there's at least some logic behind it, but I agree with you wholeheartedly that like you already saw that Burrow was just getting absolutely butt fucked for the entirety of the 2020-2021 season. And it's like you have to get him some protection. Like that's insane. So
you can't say that they didn't, because they made a trade with the New England Patriots, and at 46 they picked Jackson Carman, and then at 122 they took Tyler Shelvin. So we don't want to say that because of where they took him, it means they're going to be bad. But they went after a weapon and then went after the protection.
Yeah, but you got to get the protection first, though, Joe.
In my opinion, the difference between a franchise changing tackle and a franchise-changing wide receiver, it's much harder to find that tackle. Well, yeah. When we got Tyron Smith, it was just like that was done, and like we know that he's there, and no one's coming off that blind edge. So I'm with you. I mean, I love Jamar Chase, and I think he's going to be awesome with Burrow. But, yeah, I mean, you can't pass that up. You're right.
Yeah, that kid, it's that kid from Oregon they should have taken.
Penny.
Penny Sewell, yeah.
It's like that dude is like gonna be the best.
He's a franchise left tackle.
Yeah, he's gonna be for 10 years.
Even the kid that got that
Slater.
Yeah, Rayshawn Slater.
Rayshawn
Like,
Slater.
Not saying that because we have the same name, but like that dude is a beast. Like you gotta go after guys. You gotta get a guy named Ray on your team like that. You just have to do that. No, but seriously, like you have to go after the best talent available. Like you pick the best guy on the board. Naso was the best guy on the board. And I mean, clearly they thought Chase was the guy. I get that, but it's like, okay, great. So now you go from 2-14 to what 4-13. Congratulations.
I think that their second and third round picks validates it supports their wide receiver, right? Because now they were convinced that there's not one other person on the draft board that will do for them what Jamar Chase would, and they could find suitable offensive line relief because they had none. Right, they had none last year. So when I saw this move, I was like, man, that's I get it, but it's dumb. You have to protect it. You have to protect the Tiger King, and then they did. They did.
No, but like not to the same level as you could have. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it essentially cost them 3 picks. So that's the way I see it. Because they picked Jamar Chase, they then had to go out and pick 3 offensive linemen to make up for that 1 pick because they know Burrow. You know what I mean? Burrow has to be upright, right? So you have to do it. If you pick Sewell, that opens up so many other options in your draft for you. So that's I agree. It limits your options so much more,
right?
Yeah, but I mean,
name me the Cincinnati Bengal wide receiver core right now.
Yeah, but like, name me.
I think it's just one.
I mean, it's Higgins and
T. Higgins.
You can find an Adam Thielen. You can find a Julian Edelman. You can find, you know what I mean. You can find these guys. You don't find very many franchise left tackles like Sewell's going to be.
No, you're not wrong.
And also, if you believe in Joe Burrow, you believe that get to the point.
It shouldn't matter, right?
Yeah, get to the point where you're like, oh, all right. We got everything, but we need to get Joe Burrow some weapons. You got to get to that point, but like, don't go get the weapon before you can see what he can do with a little time and to staying healthy for an entire season. And you got to give him his best chance to do that, And I agree on that side.
Brady made it to the AFC Championship with Shea Caldwell as his number 1. So I feel like they can find
that wide receiver core wasn't great, but
at all. At all.
But it also wasn't his. What was that? His third or fourth year, and he had already won a Super Bowl.
It's
as a starter, though.
Right. Well,
I will say I know why I know you mentioned Jalen Waddle, Ray. I will say I know why they didn't take him is because what's his name? Jamar Chase played with Burrow at LSU.
No, and I get that, but Waddle to me is the guy. That
he's
dude,
really good.
Yeah, if he fell to 15. If he fell to 15, like I would not have been mad if we had picked him at 15 and then got Mond at 46. I mean at 46. So I'm here for it. Like Jalen Waddle, I'm telling you right now,
close to Tyreek as you're ever gonna say.
That kid, Henry Ruggs is that guy. He's already there. Yeah, Henry Ruggs is that guy. You didn't see how he torched Kansas City last year. He's definitely that guy. Yeah, right. I'm saying, but we're making a comparison. But I'm like, yeah, I got you. But it's just to me, like I said, Waddle's that guy. Waddle's
also it worked out for the Dolphins because that's another quarterback wide receiver reunion for Tua.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Also. For sure. So it's like it worked out for everybody, and it's a great pick for the Dolphins. I think there's a ton of upside to him, like you were saying. Like we already established he's really good, but
Hunter Long was good for them too.
So it was these 2 picks, by the way, we'll get there eventually, that ended up ruining my night because that's what led to the events that unfolded.
It didn't ruin your night. Don't be dramatic. Give me my show back. So Jalen Waddle gets taken by the Miami Dolphins, which is a great pick, Dave. They have their offensive line. They were able to, Tua got banged up last year, but they were able to keep Ryan Fitzpatrick and his magnificent beard and thighs upright. So then at number 7, Penei Sewell out of Oregon goes to the Detroit Lions. We've talked about him already. He is a career talent, and he is going to now have the job of keeping Jared Goff upright, which is something that the Rams did pretty well in LA. But I think this is going to allow them to do exactly what you guys said about the Cincinnati Bengals, is to open up other possibilities for the Lions to get what they need.
I just think it sucks that he's going to have to be on the Lions because, we're basically never going to hear from him again because like the Lions are so unimportant and terrible. And I think that Jared Goff is also unimportant and terrible. So it actually fits in great to the Detroit Lions. Yeah, he's not going to change them into any kind of offensive threat in that division.
But talk about a team that could have used a wide receiver. Like that
Yeah, if they swap picks.
For once, it was smart for them. I have to say, listen, he's a Dan Campbell guy, though.
They took the best guy on the draft and on the board left in theory, so
he's gonna love playing for Dan Campbell too. So
right. They could bite kneecaps together.
So Penei Sewell gets taken at number 7. And then number 8 to the Carolina Panthers. This was an interesting pick, and I think this is the one that surprised everybody that I was listening to and watching, and that's J.C. Horn, son of former Saints wide receiver Joe Horn, out of South Carolina, going 8th to the Panthers. All right, so they have Sam Darnold as their quarterback. They have Christian McCaffrey as their running back. Now they have a cornerback on defense. Ray.
Oh, I mean, listen, I loved it. I mean, I talked about him being the best corner in the draft. I know Bobby really wanted him to fall at 10, well, even though Dallas traded back. But yeah, J.C. Horn's a dog, and I think that's the pick. I thought they were going to pick Michael Parsons there. I really believe that. I felt like they were going to replace Luke Kuechly there. But I mean, listen, it's a passing league, and you need to shore up your defense as much as possible. So to have a guy that can potentially become a shutdown corner, to me is always something that you should go after. And so they still have some guys on offense, like I said, McCaffrey. We talked about DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. So there's still some guys there. I think they got some guys later on that could be some playmakers too in the draft as well. That's the names are escaping me right now, but yeah, I like that pick, and I think he's going to be awesome.
2 words come to mind when that pick happened. I just remember just reading it across the screen, Bobby go, "Oh no," because he wanted J.C. Horn or Surtain. That's who he was. He had hitched his wagons to for the Cowboys, and when the first one was off the board, and this was a really surprising pick. Again, the top 10 this year did not disappoint. There's this forced the Cowboys to do what they would, what Joe will later talk about. But I love this pick. I don't think for Carolina that you need to load up on offense, especially when Sam Darnold is not an electrifying quarterback, right? Especially when you already have CMC. He's already there. Just do what you need to do. And if you have a good defense around that offense, now we're talking about a 10-7, 11-6 team in a couple of years.
In that division, you think with the Saints and the Buccaneers?
I don't think the Saints are anything. And
not right now. No.
I think the Falcons are going to score thousands of points, but they're probably also going to let up thousands of points. So I'm still not really concerned about them either.
But Tampa, you're concerned about.
Yes. For the next
the Panthers of the top 10, I think the Panthers did the best job drafting where they needed something, really, really needed something, because their secondary was absolutely trash last season. So, yeah, like you said, they're probably still going to let up points, but they needed a guy who can at least not help a team with any decent wide receivers come in and look like they have 5 Calvin Johnsons. You know what I mean? That's what teams are doing to the Panthers last season. So at least make one of them at least make their best guy work, which is what this guy is. And I think it's a good pick. I think it would have been a good pick for the Cowboys too, because they also unfortunately have an atrocious defense. But sorry, Bobby.
Before we get the one thing I love about J.C. Horn out of everything is this dude has been around the NFL and most likely guarding NFL wide receivers since he was 9 years old. You don't think he helped his dad train when he was younger? This dude is bred to be a cornerback, and he is going to be awesome.
I wonder if the next guy was bred to be an NFL cornerback.
God damn. Listen, so go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, that's all I had to do. Okay, I had another thought to go along with the Panthers. Oh, one of my favorite picks that the Panthers made, and I think I shared it with you guys, was Matt Rule, the head coach of the Panthers, calling a draft pick. He's a long snapper, and he called him up and asked him if he was coming, and the kid thought that the draft had ended, so he was all dejected. And Matt Rule said, "Are you coming?" He said, "I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing." And Matt Rule said, "I just drafted you, dude. Get to Carolina." And it was really cool to hear the draft stories. And I think Matt Rule's a guy that the guys in Carolina are going to like playing for going forward. Definitely a player's guy. So then at number 9, the Denver Broncos, who in pretty much every mock draft we saw, we're going to take Penn State linebacker Micah. Micah
Parsons?
Parsons. I keep wanting to call him Richards. Micah Parsons at number 9. Instead, they take Patrick Surtain, the second cornerback out of Alabama, the second of 3 Alabama players to go in the first 10, and then, of course, the second of 10 that went in the entire draft out of the University of Alabama. So Surtain goes 9. This is the guy that Bobby wanted to go to 10 to the Cowboys. And then, Mike, like you said, this really changed the outlook of the next 3 picks.
Also, it made Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater's life that much easier, right? Because now you have Ronald Darby, Kyle Fuller, and Patrick Surtain II in the backfield.
Their backfield's like so different all of a sudden, yeah.
Yeah, and what we've seen, since Elway took over that team is if you give him the chance to build a really good defense and he just has a mediocre quarterback, they can go far. Now, Peyton's not mediocre, Joe.
He was
by that point.
Joke and be like, yeah, by that point it was.
That's an old school. Listen, that's an old school battle right there.
Yeah. Well, you're right, Mike. That defense was really good, right? The Von Miller, Derek Wolfe defense. It was a great defense, and they've just built a great secondary for whoever the heck is going to start at quarterback there, whether it's Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock, or insert option C here.
What made that so surprising is that I didn't think Fields would still be there at that point, so I didn't actually think Denver would have a chance to get a quarterback in there. Well, I feel like someone was going to trade up for it. I just felt like something was going to happen. I really never thought they were going to go corner. You know what I like, Ray? You're the only person I saw out of every mock draft that had Surtain to Denver. And I feel like, honestly, it was your fault. So I blame my dismay.
Well, I mean, can I respond?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, listen. It's a passing league, so I think I was the only one that did pick back-to-back corners being picked. I did say that, but or back-to-back defensive players that are being picked. So yeah, I mean, Vic Fangio, he was I think over with Chicago a few years back, and he came over to Denver. So he's a defensive guy. So it doesn't shock me that he was going to pick a defensive player. I thought Parsons was going to go. That was so Boston right there. Parsons. I thought he was going to be a top 10 pick. He wasn't. I think he fell in a great position going to Dallas. So that we'll get to that later on. But yeah, I mean, listen, Surtain is going to be awesome. And once again, he's in the AFC West. Darian Waller, Henry Ruggs, obviously, Hill, Kelsey, like that. You need guys that's going to defend. So, it's like Bridgewater should be the starter. Like you're paying him $22 million. He should be the starter there. So once they got Teddy, I'm like, yeah, they're not going to go quarterback. Like I just figured that. Like
they still could have though. They still could have grabbed Justin Fields, and it wouldn't have been like a bad pickup.
Yeah, but you're not picking him to be third string at this moment. Like
I get what you're saying about Fangio though, because if he Surtain is a ball hawk apparently. Like he's a guy who goes after the ball, and like I think that they're probably going to have at least top 5 defensive turnovers.
Yeah, for sure, and especially if Von Miller comes back healthy, and they have a lot of pieces there defensively. Like Mike said, they've always had a decent defense, especially over the last decade. So I say, yeah, I wasn't surprised by the pick, and sorry about it, but like I said, you guys still got a hell of a defender at 12. So just saying.
Yeah. So then at number 10, the Cowboys had the pick. They saw Patrick Surtain get taken, and they said, Jerry said, all right, well, we're going to have to make a move here because the guy that they wanted wasn't there anymore, and they knew that they could slide down because they knew that interdivision rival Philadelphia Eagles needed something that they didn't, right? So the Cowboys don't need a receiver. We all decided that in the pre-show, although Bobby would have taken all 3 of the receivers that were taken before this point if the Cowboys had drafted them. So the Cowboys trade away the number 10 pick for 12 and 84, which we'll talk about when we get to the Cowboys. We're going to run through this and then get into our teams here. But the Cowboys turn those 2 picks into defensive selections. But at number 10, to round out the 10, the third Alabama player to go in the top 10 is Devontae Smith, wide receiver, the Heisman winner, Devontae Smith, going to the Philadelphia Eagles. It's so funny because we say it in New England. They're like, oh, great, we drafted a receiver. Who's going to throw to him? Well, I kind of say the same thing with Jalen Hurts. I think he's a good talent. I personally think he's Mike Vick light without the dogfighting. And I think that he's a good athlete.
He might dogfight. You don't know.
I don't know, but benefit of the doubt. I still think Mike Vick shouldn't have been blackballed, but I stopped Ray from going on a tangent, so I won't go on a tangent. But Devontae Smith to Philly is great, but is Jalen Hurts going to be able to throw to him? Now that Jalen Hurts is the guy in Philly. That's my question.
They obviously believe in him because if Justin Fields was sitting there and they were like, let's get Jalen Hurts, who threw 6 touchdowns and 5 interceptions or something along those lines last season, I guess we're going all in on him. Like, great job, Philly. That was fucking stupid. Like, good luck. Like, they just, again, it's like, it sucks when you see like obviously I don't believe in Jalen Hurts. That's like clearly my position, but it sucks when you see a guy like Devontae Smith go to a team where he's not going to matter for the first like probably 5 years of his career, which I guess is going to happen with a guy like him because he's going to go high.
But that's not well, I'm the opposite. I disagree. Obviously, Philly got two playmakers that are going to be very good. I think right away for them. That Gainwell kid, which New England Bill, you should have. He was there. You should have drafted him. That was the James Wright replacement. But I'll let that go. Even though I like Stevenson, but we'll get there. Devontae Smith is going to be great. Him with Rager.
I agree that he's going to be great. I totally agree.
But I mean, Hurts to me is not going to be. I mean, like I said, Mike Vrabel, I think that's actually a great comparison, Joe. Like, I don't think he's not someone that's going to wow you every time with his athleticism, but, he's someone that's going to be a game manager. Like, he might be – I feel like his ceiling is like an Alex Smith type of guy, right? So, someone that might go, 27 touchdowns to like 13 picks.
I mean, his current ratio does not support that. Like,
he's still
right,
young.
but I mean, let's be honest. Like, there wasn't much around him last year in Philadelphia. Like, and he basically was getting pulled out every other game. Like, there was some plays he made that was like, okay, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, because it's kind of a mess down there still. Like, not just.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I mean, but
I agree with you that Devontae Smith's going to be really good. That's why it's a bummer that he's going to be on the Philadelphia Eagles.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. I think they played together though. They played together. Didn't they play together at Alabama? So I mean, so yeah, I think that's something where that's going to help. That's going to help Jalen Hurts, if anything, in my opinion. So
can
we'll
Nick
see.
Sirianni coach? That's the question.
Yeah, that's the key. That's the key. That's the key. Yeah,
because Doug Peterson screwed that up. Doug Peterson screwed that up in Philly, and he screwed up Carson Wentz, and that's too
true.
bad. Because Doug Peterson screwed him up because Frank Reich left. If Frank Reich doesn't move to Indy, now I think we're going to see a resurgence in Carson Wentz in Indianapolis.
I do too.
Now that he's reunited with Frank Reich, and I think Nick Sirianni is the best thing that could happen to Jalen Hurts because he's not Doug Peterson. So I don't believe, Dave, you and I agree on Jalen Hurts, but I think a reuniting of these two guys there might help. But Jalen Hurts has to learn how to be a pro-style quarterback because that's what Nick Sirianni is going to run.
Devontae Smith's not going to hurt. He's not going to hurt his prospects for sure. It's going to help him. He's a really good wide receiver. But yeah, I don't know. That's just sorry, Bobby.
No, you're fine. I just see it as like the Eagles have a quarterback that's at least above average. And listen, in the NFL, that's something that's hard to come by. So it's like you'd rather take someone that can make plays and make the throws you saw it as some like a gamble and put the weapons around him and see what you got. That's how I see it. It's like, the Eagles aren't going to win the Super Bowl this year anyways. Might as well see what the kid's got, give him some weapons. And then if you have to draft one next year, you're at the top again. You're fine.
Sure. Yeah, and I know some of these,
and I got a third-round pick out of it.
Some of these ball clubs can take a punt on like the top three quarterbacks in the draft every single year, and they still fuck it up. High Jets, but like it's my question to you is like Justin Fields is there, so you're saying that Jalen Hurts, you'd rather have Jalen Hurts than Justin Fields? It's the context of the draft at this point.
Yeah, but then what do you do? What do you do with a young? So this is the last question I have on the top 10 before we move on, and that's a great segue, Dave, because we look at these teams that were drafting in the top 10 in the first round that had the ability to trade. I think we've all now seen the video of the Denver Broncos GM hanging up the phone on another GM saying he's got a call for something better from someone else. And I'm like, oh, well, that was probably Belichick he hung up on. So you look at the teams in there, and Mike and I had this conversation the other night during the first round of the draft, during these first 10 picks, was which of these teams need a quarterback? So you kind of question the San Francisco 49ers pick, but we know that the Niners have been down on Jimmy. We know the Jets needed a quarterback. They traded theirs. We know Jacksonville needed a quarterback.
I just don't think that the 49ers drafted the best available quarterback.
No, I understand what you're saying there, but then it's like the Atlanta Falcons, like, all right, they got a lot of money tied up in Matt Ryan. They're not going to draft the next guy right there. They're probably going to go and find somebody undrafted. The Bengals have their guy. The Dolphins have their guy. Detroit just traded for their guy. Carolina traded for Darnold and gave up a second
right
and a fourth.
There. I don't know if I agree with that. Detroit trading for their guy. Like
they gave up a lot for Jared Goff.
That's what broke my heart the most is those two teams are the two that you question the most for not picking one of those two quarterbacks is Carolina and Denver. Because yes, they have guys, but 5 years from now, right? If Justin Fields and Mac Jones are all pro quarterbacks, those are the two teams that everyone's going to be looking at like, you guys are idiots. You chose Sam Darnold. Well, I think Trey Lance is going to be good. So I'm just saying those two. You took two cornerbacks over 2 franchise-saving quarterbacks for Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock, and Sam Darnold. That's what I think the conversation could end up being, and that's why I was so mind-blown that they took him.
They filled their need, and I think if you're Philadelphia, the downside to taking Justin Fields while you still have, Jalen Hurts, who you believe in, I mean, that's an instant you shatter his mindset, right? So his upside is automatically lowered, and we don't know. We all know, but we don't really know Justin Fields' upside in the NFL. Like, if you have eyes, you know. But I think you surround the Eagles, you surround Jalen Hurts with Devonta Smith and then Jalen Reagor. I think he's going to be – that's another guy that's going to have a good year because of this pick. I don't hate it. I respect it because I think the easy thing for the Eagles to do in this situation would be to say, let's just get Fields and then see what happens. But you risk ruining a career off for someone that you don't know is going to get –
There's sort of an Occam's razor thing there, though. It's like just do the simplest, smartest thing. And it's like you can't win in the NFL. But I don't know if they did because you can't win in the NFL without that an all-pro at least quarterback. So, you're betting on what you're saying is you're betting on Jalen Hurts to be that level.
Yeah, I mean that's true. That's true, Dave. But my question was for you, Dave. So, do you think they had to go Devontae Smith after missing on Justin Jefferson last year? Because that's what happened. Because Justin Jefferson was phenomenal with Minnesota, and I'm just like he was there, and you took Reagor. I think this year it was like, yo, we cannot miss on who. We can't.
I think the worst thing
I don't know if Rager's a miss though. I like Reagor
compared to Justin Jefferson. He's a miss.
Well, Justin Jefferson. Listen, Justin Jefferson's a different animal. He's a beast.
Well, yeah, but they could have taken him. That's the point that Ray's.
I think I agree with you, Ray, and I also think what factored into that too is they thought at this point in Alshon Jeffrey's career he was going to still be producing at a rate that was comparable to what he was producing at in Chicago. It really never worked out for him in Philadelphia, and I think the prospect of their receiving core looked a lot bleaker come the 10th pick in this year's NFL draft than maybe it might have been during their 5-year plan 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Like in 5 years, we're going to have this, and this. So yeah, I think you're right. They were like a year behind on their build in that position, and Alshon not being good screwed it up for them. And then I think what was the guy that was always really good on Philly that was a wide receiver and then he came back and played like 5 days and he was terrible. I'm blanking on his name.
DeSean Jackson.
DeSean Jackson. Yeah. So DeSean Jackson came back and he was not good. Right. So then because they were just trying to fill a hole at that position. So yeah, I get why they did it. I'm just saying, don't panic buy a weapon I guess the difference between us is I just don't believe in Jalen Hurts like that. He's done nothing to convince me that he can win a Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles. You're saying he's a manager. He can and it's those guys don't win Super Bowls though at this point in the NFL. You know what I mean?
Wouldn't you rather fail by tying your wagons to a quarterback that's already there than bringing another quarterback in and fucking it up internally? You know what I mean? I feel like it would be a worse look if you brought in a quarterback, right? That guy ended up sucking, but then also it fucked up Jalen Hurts.
They already hitched their wagon. to a quarterback that was already there and fucked him up. They already
but with a different head coach, with a different staff.
Yeah,
sure.
It's a different regime.
But here's the other thing too, is you guys mentioned, Bobby, especially the Panthers and the Broncos. Sure, I can understand the Broncos missing at the quarterback position if you thought they should have. They are paying 2 guys. If we're talking about this in the terms of the NFL draft, we also have to talk about age and money of these guys. Jalen Hurts is 24 years old. Sam Darnold with the Carolina Panthers wouldn't have even been the oldest quarterback in this draft. He's 23 years old. He wasn't the oldest quarterback in this draft. So when you're paying these guys and you're throwing this capital around and you're throwing these assets at other people, you kind of put yourself in a situation where that's what you want. Maybe what they did is they looked at it and said, we don't want Justin Fields and Mac Jones. And God, I hope they're wrong. For your sake and the Patriots fans' sake on this side of the camera. I hope they're wrong. I hope Fields and Jones are all pro quarterbacks, but I look at those teams and I go, they do have the guys. So in terms of the draft, like Mike just said, they went out and got the needs that they needed. They drafted all pro players based on what you guys all just said about them, about those guys being picked there. I mean, Bobby, you wanted Patrick Surtain and then you wanted JC Horn second. So
yeah, but the point is the quarterback position is more important and it outweighs.
And you think about, so even Carolina, they give up a 2nd round pick for Donald. I get why you don't then use your 1st round pick on another quarterback. That's just bad drafting. Then like you said, the Eagles have Jalen. They already have a guy there. Denver, has Teddy Bridgewater on a 1-year contract and Drew Lock on the fourth year of his rookie contract, and we've already seen that he sucks.
For Teddy.
Yeah, and we've already seen that he sucks. Teddy's okay. He's not great. Last year on game-winning drives, Teddy Bridgewater's 0 of 8. Okay, I'm just saying, the guy is there.
On a Carolina Panthers team without
quarterbacks.
Christian McCaffrey.
Right, but I'm just saying, though. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm playing Mike right now.
But that's the thing, though. You can, to Bobby's point, it's like, and we're going to get onto this when we talk about the Bears. It's like you have to, Justin Fields might not be the best.
Guy. You got to get your guy, man.
But that wasn't their guy. That's the point. Clearly, that wasn't their guy because he was there.
So Teddy Bridgewater is their guy? Like, Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock? You kidding me? So what, you're just not going to let teams score? Is that
listen,
like
Bobby, you told me the other night. You told me the other night that John Elway was one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history, and now you're telling me that he kind of stinks. So,
what Bobby's saying is, how come you guys had to draft those fucking quarterbacks that I wanted?
Right, yeah, that's really what it is. Right. You got nothing to do with it, but you got to get your guy.
It was just
breaking out of the top 10. We're gonna go down to our teams because Craig's gonna love editing a 2-hour episode. So let's start with the Bears because they've been brought up and they had the 11th overall pick because they traded up with the New York Giants. Thank goodness they did that because the Giants were going to screw it up because they screwed it up at 20 anyway. So, Dave, you woke up from a nap, basically. You're 3 hours behind us. So you woke up from a nap and you were like, oh, what's going on here? I woke up in a daze. You were like guy on the couch. Dazed.
I was getting a lot of texts from you guys about movement in the draft, which is I really didn't expect this to happen. And anyone that tells you they expect this to happen is fucking lying. So, like, it was weird because, like Bobby says, you don't give something up to go get, like, your second string QB and then, like, use your first round pick to draft a QB. But that's literally what we did. So, I know they say that Justin Fields isn't going to start, but, like, yeah, I mean, he should. Like, I think he means preseason, honestly, because it's just like, no, he needs to start. And it's like, I've heard criticism. I got very excited. Yes, you're right, Joe. I was very excited that it happened because I was actually really high on him. I know you were too, Mike. So sorry you guys didn't get him, but I was really high on him. I think he was the second best quarterback in the draft. I think it really, really papered over the burn that was not getting Russell Wilson in the offseason because I really wanted Russell Wilson. And I was like thinking about Russell Wilson before I fell asleep at night and like what he looked like in a Chicago Bears offense. And I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be, because I talked myself into like that I was going to get him. Sorry, we were going to get him, but really it was for me. And then to get Justin Fields, which is, I feel like his direct QB comparison, if you're building the prototype is Russell Wilson. And I know that because I've seen a lot of trolling from Patriots fans, because obviously I'm connected to a lot of Boston sports social media accounts. And the big troll from Patriots fans, and I think it's because they're mad they didn't get him, is Ohio quarterbacks are never good. And it's like, that is the weirdest argument to me because it's
they're not, but also most Patriots fans don't really know what college football is. So.
Sure. But I agree. I totally get it. But the logic makes absolutely no sense. It's like, no one's ever been good from that school at that position before. And it's like, does that mean it can never happen? That doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. It's like, he's clearly good. Like, he's clearly really good. Just really go watch him play. So like, and it's to be like, you failed because of the geographical location that you came out of. Like, that makes absolutely no sense. It's like different regimes there all the time.
It's the same thing with Alabama too.
Yeah. Well, Alabama, I understand the Alabama thing even a little bit more because you never really need a really good quarterback in Alabama, but Justin Fields was the reason why Ohio were good. You know what I mean? Like in Alabama, you can always just turn around and hand the ball off to a generational college running back that can, or three, that can like run through everybody. So with the reason that Ohio were as good as they were was because of Justin Fields. So it's just not the same thing. And you're just talking yourself into him being bad if you're saying that. He's going to be so fucking good. I'm so thrilled.
I can't speak on behalf of those Patriot fans, but what I can say is I've never been as envious of the Bears and Bears fans as I was when I saw the 11th pick was traded. I literally, I said
you were like, it's Fields.
You knew.
I slammed my keyboard.
I was still like, what? They're going to fuck this up. I was still for those few minutes. I was like, they're going to fuck this up. They're going to fuck this up.
They saw that their need was a quarterback up for the future. And you know what they did? They moved up 9 spots to do it. They did Belichick, we'll talk about the Patriots in a little bit, but the Bears did what they needed to do to get their guy. And their guy is really, really good. And he's gonna transform that team. And now, if Aaron Rodgers is not in that division, and Justin Fields Fields does what we think he can do, the NFC North now goes through midway. You know what I mean? So,
dude, it's watching the future of your franchise be guaranteed from a place where it was just looking so bleak.
Yeah, DK, I have a question for you. This is the best quarterback that you've ever seen, ever, for the Bears, correct? This is the most upside you've ever seen.
So Jim McMahon is currently the best quarterback to ever play for Chicago, currently.
He never had Justin Fields upside, though.
But that's what I say. That's what I've been saying to everybody. Biggest upside to a quarterback draft, to a quarterback signing. And the thing is that, like, when I first started watching the Chicago Bears in, like, 1997, right? 1998, when I first moved to America, it didn't matter as much then. Like, you could build a defensive culture, and you could be, especially in that era, you remember like the 98 to like 2004 era when you had like teams like the Ravens and like all the like
Trent Dilfer.
These defenses that could go win a Super Bowl. Like, you could cite a very recent example often of a defense that could go win a Super Bowl. So, and it was also cool to have that culture. You guys talk all the time about, like, it's dope to have a defensive culture. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you're always hard to play. Nobody ever wants to go to Chicago. Like, it's, especially in the winter, it sucks. You guys had that for a long time in New England too. But nowadays you have to accept the reality of the NFL, and the way that it's set up is you need a quarterback. And Justin Fields has more upside than a lot of the QBs that I've seen come through the draft the last few years. And I can't believe it. Like, I feel like I'm going to wake up from a dream, because like the Bears just never do this. And it just feels so good.
So looking at their entire draft, they actually had a very interesting draft. They had first, second, fifth, sixth, and seventh round picks. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 picks overall. 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the fifth, 3 in the sixth, and 1 in the seventh. And that's partially because in the trade with the New York Giants, they traded number 20, which the Giants turned into Kadarius Toney. And then they traded the 164th to the Giants, which the Giants then turned around and traded to the Broncos. And then the Bears trade away their first and fourth round picks in 2022, which, I mean, you really traded a first and a fourth for Justin Fields. And I think
I didn't care what they gave up. If they had approached me with a much worse package, I would have approved it immediately. They don't ask me, though, for whatever reason.
Well, I mean, never mind. I'm not even going to make the joke. So then they make another trade with the Carolina Panthers, which, Dave, you should be happy about this one too, because they traded for the 39th overall and the 151st overall. And with those 2 picks, they took 2 pretty good offensive tackles in Trevin Jenkins and Larry Borum out of Oklahoma State and Missouri. So they kind of did what we were all talking about with the Bengals, right? They got their quarterback, but then they went out and they found the best offensive tackles at that point in the draft and took them. But then they also got him some help offensively, taking a running back. And I mean, granted, 6th round picks.
I don't know how good he's going to be.
Take him with a grain of salt. Yeah. Khalil Herbert, Daz Newsome, running back, wide receiver, Thomas Graham Jr., cornerback out of Oregon State. And then I cannot say this guy's first name, Keiris Tonga, a defensive tackle out of BYU. So take it with a grain of salt, what they pick at the end of the draft. But Dave, you got to be happy about those tackle picks.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, we haven't had like a terrible offensive line, but they're starting to get old. And, the Kyle Long retirement and like just different things. The weird thing, and I'm sure you guys know this about offensive lines, is like you wake up one day and they suck. Like it doesn't like happen. It happens so gradually. It happens almost at a snail's pace in my experience with offensive lines, when all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, I thought our offensive line was good. And then like they're all old and, tired and hurt. So I think it's really good that we freshened it up, and I think our defense is worse than it was this time last year. And it's definitely a lot worse than it was this time 2 years ago, because we had Vic Fangio, who was a great defensive coordinator. But we also, we lost Kyle Fuller, and, we didn't replace him with somebody better. I forget the guy's name we replaced him with, but he's not that great. And I just think the defense starting to slowly decline, even though it's still an all-pro defense. It's going to be a top 5 defense. The problem is they were always on the fucking field last year, because every single throw from any of our quarterbacks usually either went nowhere or it went to the other team. So now if we can just stay on the field offensively for a little while, like that's the nice thing. You're not asking Justin Fields to go and be a game changer for you at this point. You're really just asking him to let the defense facilitate the game and like stop the teams that we play twice a season, which is how the Bears are still currently constituted.
I would also say like it must be a cool thing as a Bears fan, right? Like this draft that they had is coming off of a playoff berth. Like this isn't coming off of a 3-13 season. So they are.
It's like a phony playoff berth.
They're still. I mean,
not there.
They got there and they're making their team better. So, I mean, right off the bat, it's not like you were 2-14 last year. Now you're like, okay, we're going to be 6-10. You were 9-7, right? Or 8-8. You were close.
Yeah. And also, I was out on Nagy because I was, but it was really born of like Pace and Nagy being responsible for Trubisky and then like Foles failing in Chicago and like being there at all. So I think this is obviously them trying to save their jobs. They have to get aggressive. Like they're doing it. I think that this guy actually really fits a Matt Nagy scheme. I think he's really good with young players. I think that he's really good. He's really creative. And I think that as much as Justin Fields isn't necessarily like a scrambling QB, he's got good mobility. And I think that he can add that dimension a little bit more over time, Aaron Rodgers style, maybe like where he does a lot of fakes and check downs so that you have to kind of watch what he's doing at all times. And I think he can he's decent when the play breaks down. I think Zach Wilson was the best quarterback in the draft that was like good for like the best for when a play breaks down. So it's like you put him on a team that, it's going to break down a lot. So, you need that guy. But I think you can build such a crazy future for that offense and a crazy different identity if Matt Nagy becomes the Matt Nagy I thought he was going to be 2 years ago.
Yeah, I said this to you before in the season. You watched that Bears team. It was very obvious what they were missing. That was a quarterback. It was very obvious. That was the piece. It was like if that team last year had an average quarterback, they were 11-5, 12-4, easy. So I think this is a phenomenal pick for the Bears. Him and Traven Jenkins. He was supposed to be a first rounder. Only reason he fell is because the Raiders have no clue what's going on in the NFL.
Terrible draft. They had an awful draft.
So the only reason he ended up falling was
why.
because they took a different tackle at 17.
Mark
that was supposed to be like a third rounder, and that ended up making him fall to you guys. So those two picks, man, they make your draft. That's your draft, right?
All right, so we're going to move on to the Cowboys draft, where the Cowboys also had a really good draft. I mean, I know, Dave, you feel that your draft was very top-heavy with the quarterback and the first offensive tackle taken. But, Bobby, you guys kind of had a draft that spans all 7 rounds and guys that have upside. You had 11 total selections. 4 of those were compensatory picks. And, of course, the first one was when you traded back with the Philadelphia Eagles, which, again, is just an amazing trade because, first of all, you had the Cowboys, the Giants, and the Eagles drafting back to back because that division was horrid last year. And then you see them trade out of the 10 spot to number 12 because their guy wasn't there anymore, right? Horn or Surtain weren't there. So they trade to 12. They take Micah Parsons. And this pick was the one that was originally Miami's pick. So this pick kind of got tossed around a little bit before we got here. And then they got the 84th overall pick, which is when they took defensive end Chauncey Golston. So, Bobby, how do you feel about your Dallas Cowboys taking Micah Parsons and the very, very defense-heavy draft for the Dallas Cowboys?
I mean, I love it. I can't hate on it at all. Micah Parsons is a baller. I watched him back in. Hey, ball.
No. I mean, that's a good thing. Penn State.
Well, right. Okay. I thought you were like correcting my baller reference. I'm like, no. Just because not. All right. No, he's unbelievable, man. Yeah. He is what everyone thought Jalen Smith could have been, but Jalen Smith never reached that potential. So he's the replacement for what we thought he was going to be. And bringing him into that linebacker core, I'm not sure if Andreas is going to end up staying or not, makes that front 7 really, really good. And like we said, the first team in NFL history to ever go the first 6 picks on defense, but it's fitting because they were the worst defense in NFL history. So I feel like if there's any team that's ever going to break that record, it was the Cowboys. The biggest steal of the draft was Jabril Cox, man. Jabril Cox in the 4th round is an animal. He is awesome. I don't know how he ended up falling that far. I think it's just because he played North Dakota before, transferred to LSU, but he's really good.
Well, yeah, he covers like a safety, but I think Parsons, if you're a Cowboys fan, you have to be really intrigued as to how Dan Quinn's going to use him and all the things that they're going to do, because I think that, as Bobby mentioned, the Dallas Cowboys were the worst defense in my memory, NFL history now, but they know how to rebuild a certain section of their team in the draft. They built their offensive line under Romo, like, instantly. It happened really quick. So I do trust their ability to do that. Now, I don't know if they're going to draft 11 starters or even if all 6 of their defensive players are starters, but if 3 are, they're exponentially better than they were last year.
awesome. Right. Exactly. And you can see Dan Quinn all over this draft. You look at the people he picked. Dan Quinn loves length. On the secondary, he loves length. Linebackers, he loves speed. You look at the guys we got. Listen, Rayshawn, right? People were ripping the Cowboys for this pick because they thought they could have got him in like the 5th, 6th round. He's a Richard Sherman prototype. I guarantee you Dan Quinn got on the phone with this dude, was like, you're my Richard Sherman. You're coming in here. That's who you're going to be. Because he is 6'4", 190 pounds. He's not very fast, but he's fast in coverage. He runs like a 4.5 40, but he can keep up with people in coverage, right? He's football fast. So he was a good pick too. I'm very happy with it. You guys know what I said before the draft. His team needs literally everything on defense.
Well,
that's what we drafted. So
when your 2 corners were gone, you were so mad. I think you said like, I'm just gonna kill myself. I'm kidding.
I literally screamed no in the kitchen. I just went no. Like I heard Pat, but Parsons is a good second price.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, Bobby, I said it to you before. I think it was, but even before the pre-draft show, is that the best signing that the Dallas Cowboys made in the offseason was Dan Quinn. Because while he fell out of graces with the Atlanta Falcons, he's going to do good things for the Cowboys because it's another guy. It's like Vic Fangio, might end up going back to being in DC somewhere, but Dan Quinn is a very good defensive coordinator. So we'll see what the Cowboys can do. So it was a very positive draft. Ray, do you have a comment on the Dallas Cowboys draft?
Just for Dan Quinn, though, I just felt like it would be, I would say there's about a 28-3 chance that he'll be a great defensive coordinator down and
not
Dallas.
Nice.
So.
It's not nice.
Wait, I just do want to say what I was impressed by with the Cowboys drafting him is that it was yet another example of a team, and I think there's been teams we've already talked about, teams we're yet to talk about, of teams actually drafting the thing that they really needed to draft. And sometimes, like Bobby said at the start of the show, sometimes you're like, man, that was a boneheaded decision. I feel like that happens all the time in the NFL. Yeah. And I really feel like I understand why Bobby thought they were going to screw up their draft, but they drafted defense and they needed to draft defense. That was like a no-brainer across the entire country. Same thing with the Bears. They drafted what they needed, and I still thought that they were going to screw it up. So, yeah, I thought it was a good draft just from that perspective. Like, don't screw it up. It's like, don't screw it up draft picking,
So wait, last thing. Sorry. I'm sorry. Last thing before you go. That is definitely what I expected out of the boys, DK. You're right, is for them to screw this up. But for the first time ever, the Cowboys actually did exactly what we wanted them to do. We've been talking defense for years and years and years, and they kept giving us offense, offensive line, wide receivers, just churning out this offense, and that's why we ended up giving up 65 points a game. They finally did it. They finally did it. They did
draft Sean Lee. They did draft Leighton Vander Esch, and they did draft Stephon Diggs' brother.
Great. So the only good defensive players they've drafted are ones with crazy injury history. Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch.
All right, and that'll do it for the Dallas Cowboy Hour here on the. No, actually, you know what? I think the Bears Hour was longer. So
I was going to say the Bears was definitely longer.
Yeah, well, the Cowboys didn't draft Justin Fields. That's right. All right, so on to the New England Patriots, who drafted a quarterback in the first round for the first time since 1993. Very exciting, which was pre-Kraft, if you can believe that. So the New England Patriots make 8 selections in the draft. They ended up trading into the third round, but they originally only had 6 coming into this year, and then they made some trades, and we all know why they only had 6. They did something involving some quarterback. Anyway, so the New England Patriots with the 15th overall pick take Alabama quarterback Mac Jones. Mike, I'm going to start with you because we talked about this a lot leading into this, and I think as you watched him drop, you got angrier and angrier and angrier that the 49ers didn't take him at 3. And I don't know if you and I have both talked ourselves into Mac Jones yet. I think I'm a little bit closer than you are.
You loved it.
Oh, yeah, I'm in on. Well, I didn't love it immediately, but I do now.
You guys are going to get there. I've seen you talk yourselves into a lot worse.
That's not wrong.
All right. So anyway, Mac Jones, Mike, you threw in a bunch of numbers here regarding Mac Jones. It was very difficult for Mac Jones to be bad at Alabama. We just talked about that, right, Dave? And Ray, you and I have talked about SEC quarterbacks, how they stink when they get to the NFL. So, Mike, read us through Mac Jones and what he did with 2 of the best wide receivers in college football.
Yeah, so this is why I'm irritated by this pick, right? So he had a great year last year. No doubt about it. In a year where Alabama only played SEC opponents, I get that too. But also in a year where SEC defenders opted out, that he was not playing against the best anymore, right? So 4,500 passing yards, 41 touchdowns, 4 picks. I get it. I'm pretty certain that every single one of us could account for 28 to 35 touchdowns with Devontae Smith and Waddle to throw to. But I'm still not sold on this, man. I think Bill wanted him the entire time. He was never going to move for him. And great, he got his guy. But if he starts this year at any point in time, it's because things are going really bad. It's because the quarterback room that now has Jared Stidham and Cam Newton in it are that bad. So it's almost, if we want Mac Jones to do well in the NFL, I think he should sit for a year. I think he's probably, I've heard that he's one of the most pro-ready quarterbacks in the draft. Great. He's not throwing to Smith and Waddle. He'll be throwing to, well, I guess Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith are pretty good. I'll give him that. But I don't love this pick. I've never been so mad at Bill doing what I've been asking him to do for the last 5 years. Like I begged him to take a quarterback in the first round for the last 3 months. And then he did. I'm still pissed off.
Well, you knew 3 of them were going to be gone, and it's interesting. I'm glad you brought up the point where the people have said that he's the most pro-ready quarterback on a certain radio program on a certain radio station this afternoon. Current University of Texas head coach, and for the last 2 years, the Alabama offensive coordinator, Steve Sarkisian, was on the radio and said those exact words, that he's ready to go, and gave examples as to why he's ready to go that went beyond his 2020 season, which was basically sitting behind the guys that he did for 3 years and studying and putting in the time and seeing those guys get ready. And then he steps in. You know, we sit here and we talk about what did people think when Tom Brady was taken and he had this doughy body, and they talk about that stuff. But here's the difference: 184 picks. So this is where I'm with Mike.
To your point, Joe, not to cut you off, but like what you said, I cannot let it pass. Like he sat behind and he learned from his two predecessors, Jalen Hurts and Tua. I'm sorry, but we just spent half hours of the show talking about how Jalen Hurts is not the guy. Now we want our guys studying behind him.
I disagree with that, though. I think he is.
I guess it was the best pick they could have made. It's unfortunate that they did not do what they should have done and move up 4 picks for the guy.
Would you have liked to see them move back and take Kyle Trask over Mac Jones?
Yeah. Yes.
So you want the guy that was throwing to Kyle Pitts in the SEC East.
Throwing to Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry? Yes. Yeah, all day. Twice on Sunday.
Can I just give the outside perspective of why I think it was a great pick, Mike?
You know, you don't need to come into this all shy. We're not going to attack you.
No, I know. I'm just, because that's never happened before. So
I still might.
So he fits Brady's system the most.
But it's not Brady's system.
Or not Brady's system. He fits the Brady prototype the most out of everyone. I promise. I also think, I don't know if someone said it earlier, that Bill was the one dropping these Mac Jones things, because I think that's the guy he wanted from day one. He looked at Mac Jones and was like, that's the guy. Bring me him. The footwork is impeccable, man. I listened to an interview. He was a tennis player growing up. Same thing with Drew Brees. Like, it's all about their footwork. That's why he, in the pocket, looks a lot like Brady. Like, he has that pocket presence. Also, it's such a Belichick move to be able to get this guy. Everyone wants him to trade up. Belichick's like, bro, I'm not trading up. Do you see what's happening? It's like not calling a timeout on the 1 yard line against the Seahawks. Everyone's like, timeout. He's like, wait a second. Kind of feel like something fucked up's about to happen. And it happened, and you guys ended up getting your guy for nothing. You look at what the Bears did. They gave up a 1st-round pick and a 4th-round pick, and they got their guy. The Patriots got their guy for nothing. They got to keep the rest of their picks.
They got it for a 7-9 disappointing season.
Yeah. My problem's with the talent evaluation, right? If that was their guy all along and they just waited for him, sure. But again, like, kudos to him for actually doing what I was surprised. I didn't think he was going to do. I did not expect Belichick to draft a quarterback in the 1st round. I think, Ray, you're ready to go. But I was talking to you for all week. I'm like, he's trading out. He's trading off for 2 2s or something. And then he did it. He did what I did not think he would do. So kudos to him.
Yeah, I mean, we all were shocked. Like, if anyone says they thought he was drafting a quarterback, like you're lying. Like, the still he was like you're an absolute liar, all cap. Like that is bull. You did not think he was going to draft a quarterback. Now, if he did, I mean, hell, he might have messed around and drafted Sam Ellinger out of Texas at 15, and be like, yeah, like that would have been a Belichick type move, which I might have gone in an Uber or do something, go right up to Foxborough with the leading the pitchfork if he had did some shit like that. It'd been ridiculous. But I'm not in love with the Mac Jones pick either. I do think he's going to be decent in time, but I was one of those guys for a long time, Dave. Like, I felt like if you went to a certain school and you were historically at that position just wasn't good. Like, I just felt like the college system was great for that team. Like, same thing with like Oregon too. Mariota, some other guys came. That's why I didn't think Herbert was going to be good, but we saw Herbert come out here last year and dominate. So I'm learning that you have to draft the talent, not the school that they went to. So you have to go to that. So listen, competition or not, Mike, 40 touchdowns to 4 picks. I mean, damn, like that's a hell of a stat line.
2 top 10 wide receivers, though.
Yeah, but he's still playing in the SEC. So even their backups.
And also to throw for 77% of his passes, when we saw a guy that was throwing stuff into the dirt, listen, that's already an upgrade. Already.
I agree because I was going to say that. I don't think you guys could have possibly gotten any worse. Like, and also he's going to start too. Like, there all this bullshit about like, oh,
well, not right away. Not right away.
He should start right away. He should start right away.
What should happen? Well, we'll have two different things. Like, should he start? Sure, but he won't. Like Cam
did nothing.
Cam is the latest Ocho Cinco. Bill, for some reason, loves him. It's not. Yeah,
and Ocho Cinco.
He loves Cam.
Got booted out of here in year 2. Cam Newton.
Cam works really hard.
Cam Newton is making backup money for a reason. He made backup money last year in the COVID year, and he's making backup money this year, making $6 to $14 million because it's all incentive laden, because the guaranteed contract for the 15th overall pick is higher than what Cam Newton is making. And for Bill Belichick to sit more money on the bench, I mean, let's not talk about Malcolm Butler in the Super Bowl because that's one game, but there's no way that Bill Belichick sits the money on the bench. Mac Jones starts week 1.
I mean, listen, I want you to be right. Like, I want you guys to be right to say that he started, but I don't see. To me, I don't see a scenario where that happens unless something happens to Cam in the preseason. Like, I don't foresee that. I think that he's going to ride with the veteran, and then if Cam's play goes south, which is definitely something that can happen, we'll see Mac Jones come in. I just hope it's
going farther south than it already has.
No, I mean it can though. Honestly, it can. Because I mean, Mike brought it up to add to his argument a few episodes back. He still had 20 total touchdowns, which I mean, to me, it's like whatever. But it's just like that still was the case. I just think,
ground because you couldn't throw the ball.
Right, exactly. So it's just like, you had a 6'5", 250-pound, fullback, so to speak. But, I mean, listen, you added more weapons on the outside. You got guys. His best years was with Greg Olsen being the number one guy. He essentially has 2 Greg Olsens in there. So you could see a bit of a resurgence, and I think that's what they may be betting on. My God, I'm praying that's what the case is. But if not, fine. You get a guy that can complete his passes and just dink and dunk down the field, and hey, so be it. He's not gonna necessarily throw a guy open, meaning Mac Jones, but you can rest assured he's gonna be on the button.
I don't mean to generalize this at you guys. Only Boston and Patriots fans. It's crazy to me that it's funny, actually, not crazy, because I would have done it too if I was a Patriots fan. You guys beg for this quarterback to be taken. And for years, I've been hearing, we can't draft. Bill never does anything. He never does anything smart. He never gets to the quarterback. He never does it. And then he finally takes him.
Okay, well, a couple things there. He drafted a quarterback from his guy, right? So he didn't move outside of his comfort zone. That's number one. And number two, what you're talking about with Mac Jones, he had, again, one great year. One, not 3, not 2, 1. And it was in a down year for the SEC. I just think we're all just missing the genius of what he did, right?
We're missing the point.
Yeah, we all talked about that if Bill went south, this year, if it was not good, that his job would be at stake. We all talked about that. That's not the case anymore. He can now lose with Cam because he has his backup in place.
do you think that this pick, and this was something that I was thinking of when the Ernie Adams news came out after the draft, that he's done after the 2021 season, he's retiring from the position that we don't know that he holds. There's been talk that there's more involvement in the room with other personnel, whether it's Dave Ziegler, whether it's Josh McDaniels, Steve Belichick. They drafted one guy who the only person on the Patriots coaching staff, and I can't remember which guy it is, the only person on the Patriots coaching staff they talked to was Steve Belichick, which I think is a big problem. But my question on Mac Jones is, do you think that when they made it sound like Belichick wasn't necessarily sold on taking Jones, that this is a McDaniels pick more than it is a Belichick pick? Obviously, Belichick makes the final call.
It's a Bill pick because it's a saving guy. That's it. And like if Mac Jones had the year that he had at BYU or at Mizzou, right? He's not drafting him, but because he has Saban in his ear and he trusts Nick Saban, he'll take him.
I don't know why you would trust a failed NFL head coach, but I'm agreeing with you on that. So
it doesn't make him a bad evaluator.
Alabama's just an absolute wagon. All right, if he,
I would trust Nick Saban about football.
If my coach, if Mike McCarthy was like, you know what, Nick Saban's my best friend, and I want any guy that he's coached because listen, he coaches ballers. There's a reason there was 10 picks in the first 2 rounds. So if you want to go get all Nick Saban's guys, go get him. He knows winners, man. Saban, Belichick, they're both champions.
I would like to just say, on the Patriots, I think Bobby's very salient point at the beginning got lost in the fold of your guys' fucking fan psychosis, which I also have it, so it's fine. But I think the system matchup, like the way he fits in your head already in the Patriots system, it's like you saw that system work game 1 last season with Cam Newton in there when Cam Newton wasn't playing like he was dragging around a fucking sack of potatoes. And I think when you get a guy who can I think their thinking is if we have a guy that can accomplish what we're trying to accomplish, we'll look good. But we didn't have that last season. And I think that's why Cam Newton is sitting in game 1 of the, a lot can happen from now until then, like preseason, like injuries, a lot can happen. But I think that Cam Newton does not start the season. We'll see relatively quickly. But I think it's because if they believed in Cam, they wouldn't have gotten this guy. And I think they saw the potential for him for the system to work with a guy who fits the system. And this dude fits the system so perfectly.
Right. It's just the upside doesn't have to be that high for you guys to be successful with.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah. He doesn't need to be Justin Fields. That's why they got him instead.
Right. Dude, it's so you think back.
I don't know if I believe that that's true. I just know that Bill Belichick believes that's true. You think
about the system they're about to implement, that 2 tight end set. Brady wasn't Brady when they had that 2 tight end set and they were very successful with it. He was throwing 20 touchdowns and 12 picks. You know what I mean? Like that's a system that you can have a game manager and still succeed. I don't know if it would be the same in today's NFL if it was then.
So Bobby, are you saying that Mac Jones is greater than or equal to Tom Brady?
I think he's saying that you didn't need Tom Brady.
I was really hoping he said yes.
He's more of a... He's like, when you don't have that last puzzle piece, but you find one that kind of fits the same, so you can fit it in there, and it's like, well, all right, it's done.
No, I don't do that. That's called fucking up the puzzle.
What classes were you in?
He's like, the way you just use the scissors and you cut pieces so it fits? The picture doesn't have to look like the picture.
I just feel like he's the best comp for Brady that I've seen in a system or coming out of college in a while.
To Bobby's point, I just want to say this because I do believe that this is true. I don't necessarily think that the system. I think that Bill Belichick believes this is true. I don't know if I believe that it's true. And I think that Bill Belichick basically thinks that he didn't need Tom Brady for the amount of success that he had. And I think he thinks that his system was more important than Tom. And I think he still thinks that even though Tom Brady went and won a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, he had a lot of weapons. Bill was left with not a lot because the Patriots don't lose enough to have a lot of high draft picks, so he had to rebuild. So he went out and he spent money and this is the value that he puts at the quarterback position, that you just have to accept that. And it's the highest value he was ever going to put at the quarterback position. Yes, he had Tom Brady. He doesn't believe, I don't think in his heart of hearts that Tom Brady is responsible for his success. I think he believes he's responsible for his success. And I think that this is the highest you could have possibly hoped for as far as value he was going to put on that position. So you should be happy.
That's fair. And I think it's very easy for media pundits and, obviously even us alike to make the comparisons to Brady because of obviously just how he looks physically. I honestly think that this is really Jimmy G. He got Jimmy G this time around, second time around. And he said, I got a younger Jimmy G. He's the same number 10. He's someone that's not, he's going to win me some games, but he won't lose it. And that's what he's going to be. So Jimmy G, we saw in this offense when he started in 2016, and they went on that little run before Brady had come back after the suspension. I think he's Jimmy G. He's someone that's going to,
But that's good though. You guys spent so much time talking about how you beat.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. So I think they would have brought back Jimmy G had Jimmy G, one, been healthier, but also two, been at the money that they wanted. Right now, you got control of Mac Jones for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
And you don't have to pay him till his age 27, 28 season, which is what Bill wants to do. He wants to have that control of a player. So to me, it's really Jimmy G. It's not Tom that we need to compare him to. It's Jimmy G.
So the New England Patriots then trade up with Cincinnati to get Christian Barmore, defensive tackle out of Alabama. So another Saban guy. Then they go out and get a defensive end, Ronnie Perkins at 96, compensatory pick out of Oklahoma. This one was interesting at 120 in the fourth round, Ramondre Stevenson out of Oklahoma. But as we found out when the day that we're recording this, May 3rd, that the Patriots did not pick up the option on Sony Michel. So they needed another mediocre running back. So they went and got Ramondre Stevenson.
Whoa,
Fourth round instead of the first.
Whoa.
Yeah, right.
Sony,
he went in the fourth
very
round instead of the
mediocre.
first.
Sony's very
extremely
mediocre. Missed a 3.4.
To me, well, I mean, sorry, since Joe made that comment, I had to respond. Stevenson looks like another LeGarrette Blount, honestly. I'm sorry.
So you're offended calling Stevenson mediocre, not Michel.
Michel's a joke.
Hey, just like Mike with Mac Jones, prove it.
I mean, watch the tape. You saw.
I can watch the tape, but I can watch the tape of Mac Jones at Alabama, and Mike's not going to believe that either. So show me.
That's because Mike wanted Justin Fields. I
wanted Justin Fields and Trey Lance over Mac Jones too. But I mean, I didn't know who Ramondre Stevenson was until.
Well, I mean, as a Gators fan, I did because he dominated us in the Cotton Bowl. So I'm like, I did see that. Now I just didn't remember his name, but I do remember him running over and giving me nightmares shortly after. So I do remember that. He catches well. He runs well. He's 6 feet and he's 240. That is a prototypical Patriots running back. Need. So if he's LeGarrette Blount, then hey, that's ball game, baby. Like we got us one. So I was more excited about the third and fourth round than I was with the first two picks. Like
Ronnie Perkins
and Stevenson. Like I say, he doesn't go too often into Oklahoma, but those two guys, like I said, Perkins gets around that edge really well, and like I said, he's 6'3", about 250. Maybe that's another Jamie Collins type guy. Like I'm here for it, honestly.
And Barmore's a beast up the middle, guys.
Yeah, more like
he's a
Richard
pure
Seymour,
no
Jarvis
tackle.
Green type guy. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Real quick, Joe, I just want to point out that in his 2 years, Stevenson 165 attempts for almost 1,200 yards, average 7 yards a carry.
Yep,
and 13 touchdowns. I mean, that's what you need.
You need that.
That's what you need.
Sure, let's see it.
And he stays healthy. That's the key.
They got Damian Harris, James White is back, Ramondre Stevenson. So hopefully it works out for Mac Jones.
Honestly, I think it's personally. I know you guys have a bad taste in your mouth from the season last season, but I know you're used to Bill Belichick. And I know especially you, Mike, because you fucking hate him as a GM. But I know you're used to him having kind of mediocre drafts and mediocre off seasons in general. But I think this is a really good off season for you guys.
Yes.
Like I really, you guys have had an awesome season. And it's like.
They've done everything they've done everything that we've wanted them to do, right, Mike? Even drafting Mac Jones. They've done everything we've wanted them to do, at least for the last 2 years, with Brady having been on the way out the door and now out the door. And then with everything that they did throughout Brady's tenure, this is still very different than what they have ever. This never would have happened in the Brady tenure. Even if he went back and did his entire career in New England over again and they had a chance to do it differently, nothing would have gone differently and they would have still gone the same way and probably still won 6 Super Bowls. But now we need to restart that, right? And same thing with the Bears and same thing with the Cowboys. Cowboys need to revamp that defense. The Bears need to revamp their entire team. The Patriots not the entire team, but you know what I mean, Dave, when I say that. They have weak spots on both sides of the ball, and the head coach needs to figure it out, as you so eloquently pointed out. So hopefully all of them can do this. So, and as we're in here, I guess it's not breaking news, but Bobby, I guess Leighton Vander Esch coming from Rayshawn is going to get cut, which, okay, bring him to New England.
Yeah,
so
for real.
I really like him.
Listen, I like him. I like him too, but that neck, man, he's a linebacker. You can't have. That's why, I loved the Vander Esch pick when it happened. I love the Jalen pick. That's why I like Marker better than those two, because both those guys are just such big risks. And LVE has very bad neck problems. He's one hit away from being out of the league. So I'm not surprised by that at all.
So we've gone through the top 10 picks in the draft. We've dabbled past that. We've looked at the Bears. We've looked at the Cowboys and the Patriots. So for those of you that are New England, Chicago, and Dallas fans, we've given you everything you want to hear heading into the summer and mini camp and getting into the preseason, because as we come into May, we really are only 3 months away from preseason football to the week, pretty much. So, while there's baseball, basketball, and hockey going on, I think with the NFL draft, the NFL does a hell of a job at marketing themselves and putting themselves in the right place to be loved and hated so that people continue to watch. So that is our review of the 2021 NFL draft. I think we can put the preview down in the show notes below, along with the Anthony Triche interview is down in the show notes below, so that you guys can hear where we were before the draft and compare notes. For the Bears fan, the Bears contingency in Los Angeles for DK Sizzle, the Dallas contingency in upstate New York with Bob Kelly, and the Patriots contingency, Rayshawn Buchanan, Mike Marcangelo, our EP, Craig D'Alessandro. I am your host, Joe Malkin. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next time on Missing the Point.
Hey, it's Tim from 50 Years of Music with 50-Year-Old White Guys, the comedy podcast you had no idea you needed. Join Ben, Jeff, and me as we continue our musical road trip back through the years and around the globe. See, just when you thought all white guys were like Joe Rogan, you come across 3 educators trying to remember when we were cool.
50 Years of Music with 50-Year-Old White Guys.
Electricast.
Welcome, explorers of the human experience. This is Let's Talk Soul, and I'm your host, Claudia Monticelli. We're not afraid of the great mysteries of existence here. Soul versus consciousness, we're on it. Spirituality versus science, we've got that covered too. Join us in navigating these profound topics with wisdom, curiosity, and a dash of audacity. Whether you're a spiritual veteran or just starting your journey, Let's Talk Soul is your passport to the unknown. Let's Talk Soul, diving into the depths of the human spirit. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts.
Electricast.